What would you do if you received a video from your aunt only to hear your entire family call you a pathetic failure while you've been quietly paying their bills for 5 long years? I'm Lauren Mitchell, 36, a YouTube content creator with a channel of 20,000 subscribers where I share cooking and simple lifestyle videos from my cozy Chicago apartment. My YouTube income covers my daily expenses, but most of my savings from my old job as a project manager at a tech company have gone toward paying off my family's debts. My parents, James and Patricia, have always beamed with pride over my older brother, Ethan, a successful engineer in California. Mom always said Ethan was the family's only hope to save face after Dad's auto repair shop went bankrupt. Meanwhile, I'm just Lauren with her silly videos, as Mom once put it. Still, I quietly sent money every month. Electricity, water, even rent. Tens of thousands of dollars in total, so my parents wouldn't have to worry. I did it because I love them, because I thought one day they'd see I'm worth something too. But everything came crashing down on a chilly Friday night. My phone lit up with a text from Aunt Nancy, sent by mistake, sorry sweetie, attached to a 3-minute video. Curiosity got the better of me, so I pressed play, and my heart stopped. In a family gathering at my parents' house in Ohio, my dad's voice boomed. Lauren's a pathetic failure, never amounted to anything. Mom laughed loudly, adding she should be grateful we still put up with her. Ethan nodded, chiming in, she'll never measure up to me. I sat frozen on my couch, hands trembling, tears streaming down my face, but unable to cry out loud. Those words cut like a knife, shredding every hope I'd clung to. Me, the one who put my dreams on hold to support them, was just a joke in their eyes. I texted Sarah, my best friend from college, but even she didn't know how to comfort me when I told her about the video. I felt lonelier than ever, like the whole world had turned its back on me. But in that pain, a spark began to ignite. They don't know I've stopped paying their bills, and the upcoming invoices will lay bare how much they've depended on me. They think I'll stay silent forever, but I'm about to make my family face a truth they can't escape. I'm done, I whispered to myself, standing in front of the mirror, wiping away my tears. I'll show them I'm not a failure, and they'll never forget it. I always thought family was the one place you could be yourself without wearing a mask or proving anything, until a text from Aunt Nancy shattered that illusion, making me realize the people I loved most had been mocking me behind my back, calling me a failure in the very home I once called my sanctuary. Every morning, I wake up in my small Chicago apartment, where soft sunlight slips through the window blinds, casting a glow on my desk cluttered with sticky notes for new video ideas. My YouTube channel, Lauren's Corner, is where I share slices of everyday life, from how to make a creamy pumpkin soup to little tips for busy women to find a moment of peace. With 25,000 subscribers, I'm no social media star, but every comment like, "Your video made my day," fuels me to keep going. Beyond filming and editing, I spend hours replying to messages from viewers because I know how precious it feels to be heard. But what my audience doesn't know, and what I've never shared, is that for 5 years, I've quietly sent money back to Ohio to keep my family from falling apart. Electricity bills, plumbing repairs, even Dad's medical prescriptions. I've covered it all, not because they asked, but because I thought it was how I could belong, how I could make them need me. My dad, James, used to be a proud man, running an auto repair shop back home, but after it went under, he turned bitter, quiet, and often took his frustrations out on me. My mom, Patricia, is the kind of woman who loves her afternoon tea parties, always bragging about my older brother, Ethan, whom she calls the family's future. Ethan, with his startup in Seattle, a sleek penthouse, and Instagram posts of glamorous vacations, is mom's ideal. Meanwhile, I'm just the daughter who messes around with stuff online, as she said at a family dinner once. I still called home every week, hoping one day mom would ask about my life. But our talks always ended with praise for Ethan and the same tired question: when are you going to get a real job? That evening, I just finished a video on no-bake chocolate cookies ready to upload to my channel when my phone lit up. A text from Aunt Nancy, sent by mistake, sorry sweetie, with a short video attached. I smiled, thinking it was some random family moment, but when I hit play, I froze. In the video, my family sat around the dining table in Ohio, warm lamplight glowing on familiar faces. My dad, his voice low and gruff, said, "Lauren's such a failure, wasting her days on those pointless videos." Mom laughed loudly, adding, "She should be grateful we still let her carry the Mitchell name." Ethan, the brother I once looked up to, nodded. "She'll never measure up to me." I replayed it, hoping I'd misheard, but each word was a blade slicing into my self-worth. Me, the one who scrimped and saved to pay their debts, was just a punchline to them? I gripped my phone, my fingers scrolling to Sarah, my college best friend, the one who could always make me laugh even on my worst days. "Sarah, I need to talk," I texted, my voice trembling in my head. My phone rang instantly. "Lauren, what's wrong?" Sarah asked, her tone worried. I spilled everything about the video, the bills I'd paid, how I always thought my family needed me. "They don't deserve you," Sarah said, her voice firm. "You've given them so much, and what do they give back? Scorn? It's time to stop." Her words were like a gentle slap, waking me from the dream that I could buy my family's love with money. "I stopped sending money this month," I admitted. "Good," Sarah replied. "Let them send for themselves and see what they do without you." I stepped into the living room, where an old armchair sat beside a bookshelf filled with memoirs of strong women. I sank into it, clutching a pillow, and let the tears fall. I remembered the times Mom called, her voice thick with worry when the bank threatened to foreclose on their house, and how I always wired money right away. I recalled the rare texts from Dad, usually just reminders about fixing Ethan's car. I'd convinced myself they were busy, that they loved me in their own way. But now, in my quiet apartment, I faced the truth. They never tried to understand me. Everything I did, the money, the sacrifices, the love, was just an obligation in their eyes, nothing more. I pulled a journal from the drawer and started writing, not for YouTube, but to free the emotions choking me. "I'm not a failure," I wrote, the words bolder than I expected. "They want to think I'm worthless? Fine, but I won't let them define me anymore." I opened my laptop, checked my bank account, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt relief seeing the balance untouched. I'd stopped sending money, but I knew my family wouldn't let it slide. They'd call, they'd blame me, or worse, they'd try to guilt me for daring to put myself first. And I also knew a secret they didn't want anyone to know, not just about the money, but about the real reason Dad's shop collapsed, a truth I'd kept quiet to spare them pain. But now, I wondered if it was time for that truth to speak. As I was lost in thought, my phone buzzed, not a text, but a call. I glanced at the screen, and my blood ran cold. It was Mom, calling from the Ohio house number. "Lauren, you need to come home now." Her voice crackled through the voicemail, tense and urgent. I gripped the phone, my heart pounding, wondering, have they realized I stopped sending money, or is something worse waiting for me? Have you ever wondered what happens when you stop holding a family together and then realize they never valued you in the first place? I stood in my Chicago apartment, streetlight glowing through the window, casting shadows on my phone, still lit with Mom's voicemail. "Lauren, you need to come home now. Something big's happened." Her voice was rushed, but there was no trace of concern for me, just a command, as if I were still the 10-year-old who had to obey her. I didn't call back right away. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a cold glass of water, trying to piece together the fragments of my emotions after Aunt Nancy's video. The mocking words of Dad, Mom, and Ethan still echoed in my head. Failure, useless, never measure up. I'd stopped sending money to Ohio this month, the first time in 5 years, and now Mom's call might be the first sign they've noticed. But my gut told me something bigger, darker was waiting. The next day, I decided not to rush back to Ohio. I needed time to figure out what was going on. I opened my laptop, checked my bank email, and saw a notification. The electric bill for my parents' house was past due. No texts or calls from them to explain, just Mom's voicemail with its commanding tone. I texted Sarah, my rock of a best friend. Mom called, said I need to come home for something big. I don't know if I should go. Sarah replied instantly, "Don't rush back, Lauren. They're panicking because they've lost your money. Don't let them drag you into their drama." I knew she was right, but guilt still crept in, as if stopping the payments was a crime, even though they'd called me trash. That afternoon, I went to a cozy cafe near Lincoln Park to meet Maya, who always saw things with clear eyes. The place smelled of freshly baked waffles, but I couldn't focus on the menu. "I don't know what I'm doing," I admitted, my voice low so no one could overhear. "I stopped sending money, but now Mom's calling like I owe them an explanation." Maya sipped her latte, fixing me with a steady gaze. "Lauren, you've given them everything. Money, time, love. And what did they give back? A video mocking you. They have no right to demand anything." She placed her hand on mine. "Let them figure it out. You deserve to live for yourself." Maya's words were like a cool breeze, but I still felt heavy. I'd spent my life keeping my family from falling apart. Now, as I let go, I feared it would all crumble and they'd blame me. Back home, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring into my tired eyes. This is me, the one who stayed up late paying my parents' bills, who skipped trips with friends to save money for them. But in their eyes, I was nothing. "Am I really as useless as they say?" I whispered, then shook my head instantly. "No, I'm not a failure. I built a YouTube channel from scratch, helped thousands through my videos, and kept my family from homelessness. But why did I still feel like I wasn't enough?" In that moment, I realized their words didn't just hurt me. They'd made me doubt myself, and that was the most dangerous thing of all. The next day, my phone buzzed relentlessly. A text from Mom. "Lauren, you can't abandon your family like this. The electricity's been cut off." Then one from Dad. "What are you going to do about this? Ethan can't help because he's busy with his company." I read each word, feeling a wave of anger and pain surge inside me. No apologies, no asking if I was okay, just blame, as if I were at fault for daring to stop. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a bottle of red wine, sank into the sofa, and played a soft jazz playlist. I needed to stay calm, to not let them pull me back into the cycle of guilt they'd planted in me since childhood. But then, another text came, this time from Ethan. "Lauren, we need to talk. Mom told me to call, but I have something to say privately." I frowned, unsure of his angle. Ethan never texted me unless Mom made him. Did he know about Aunt Nancy's video, or was he trying to hide something? I decided not to reply right away, but my mind was a mess. I got up, walked past the bookshelf where an old family photo sat in a wooden frame. We were laughing by Lake Michigan, back when I thought family was the safest place. Now, that photo was just a reminder of what I'd lost. Not their love, but my belief that I needed them to feel worthy. I picked up the frame, about to put it away, but then I stopped. No, I wouldn't hide from this. I'd face them, but on my terms. I opened my laptop, started drafting an email to Sarah and Maya, telling them about the new texts and asking for their advice. But just as I hit send, the doorbell rang, a sharp sound slicing through the quiet. I glanced at the clock, 9 p.m. Who would come this late? I walked to the door, my heart racing, and peered through the peephole. Ethan stood there, in a black coat, his face tense, holding a thick stack of documents. "Lauren, open the door," he said, his voice low but urgent. "I know you saw that video, and we need to talk before things go too far." Have you ever wondered what happens when you stand face to face with someone who called you a failure and force them to confront their own words, only to realize the truth is even more bitter than you imagined? I stood at the door of my Chicago apartment, hand on the knob, heart pounding as Ethan's voice came through the gap. "Lauren, open the door. I know you saw that video." It was late, the dim hallway light casting shadows on my brother's tense face, a rare sight since he hardly left Seattle to visit me. I took a deep breath, opened the door, but didn't invite him in right away. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice colder than I meant. Ethan raised the stack of documents in his hand, his eyes flickering between worry and unease. "We need to talk. Not just about the video, about everything." I nodded, letting him step inside, but the air between us was heavy, like an invisible wall. Ethan sat on the sofa, placing the documents on the coffee table, but not opening them. "Mom sent me," he started, "but I wanted to talk to you before things get worse." I crossed my arms, leaning against the wall, trying to keep my voice steady. "Worse? You mean worse than our family mocking me behind my back, calling me useless while I paid the bills for 5 years? Ethan looked down, rubbing his forehead. "Lauren, I didn't know you were doing that. None of us did." His words hit like another blade, not for the insult, but for the truth that my family never noticed what I'd sacrificed. "Really?" I asked, my voice starting to shake. "No one wondered why the bills were always paid on time? No one asked where I got the money?" Ethan shook his head, his voice softening. "Mom said, she said it was insurance money, from Dad, from old savings." I laughed, but it wasn't out of joy. It was a bitter, pained laugh. "Insurance? Dad went bankrupt 10 years ago, Ethan. That money was mine, from my savings, from days I didn't dare buy new shoes so Mom wouldn't cry over bank debts." He looked at me, eyes wide, as if seeing me for the first time. "Lauren, I'm sorry. I didn't know." But his apology wasn't enough. It didn't soothe the wound from the video's words, from the years I'd been invisible in my own family. I walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water just to do something, to keep myself from crumbling. "So why are you here? To apologize for Mom, or to tell me to keep paying like a good little ATM?" Ethan stood, stepping closer, but I raised a hand to stop him. "No, Lauren, I'm here because Mom's freaking out. The electricity's cut off, the bank's calling nonstop. She thinks you're doing this to get back at her." I turned, locking eyes with him. "Get back at her? You think I'm that petty?" "I stopped sending money because I'm exhausted, Ethan. Exhausted from doing everything while no one values me." He sat back down, opened the stack of documents, and pulled out a pile of papers. "These are Mom and Dad's financial records. I found them in Dad's office last week." I frowned, taking them. They were receipts, bills, and notes. proof that my parents had spent far beyond their means, from lavish parties to impress the neighbors to expensive gifts for Ethan. But what stopped me cold was a handwritten note from Mom. "Lauren will cover the rest." I felt the blood rush to my head, as if the world were tilting. "They knew," I whispered, my voice breaking. "They knew I was paying, and they still called me a failure?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Mom said, she said it's your duty as the eldest daughter, that you should feel lucky to help the family." I sank into a chair, my mind reeling. The truth hit like a punch to the chest. Not just betrayal, but calculated exploitation. They didn't just belittle me. They deliberately turned me into a tool while mocking me behind my back. I remembered Mom's calls, her sweet tone when asking about my job, only to end with, "Can you send a little more?" I thought it was love, necessity. But now, staring at the cold numbers on paper, I saw I'd been deceived for years. "They were never going to thank me, were they?" I asked, not expecting an answer. Ethan just bowed his head, silent. I stood, walking to the bookshelf where an old card from Mom still sat, the only one she'd ever sent, with a scrawled, "Thanks for always being there." I'd treasured it, thinking it proved she loved me. Now, it was just a carefully crafted lie. I turned back to Ethan. "You know about Dad's shop, don't you?" I asked, my voice low but sharp. He flinched, his eyes dodging mine. "What?" He hedged, but I saw the panic in his gaze. "Don't play dumb," I said. "I know the real reason the shop went under, not the market, but because Dad took out loans to fund your startup, and you let it crash." Ethan's face paled, but he didn't deny it. That secret, the one I'd kept to protect him, was now a double-edged sword between us. I walked to the window, gazing down at Chicago streets, where lights flickered like lost stars. I felt like I was standing on a cliff, one side rage ready to erupt, the other pain begging to retreat. "I don't want to hurt the family," I said, my voice catching, "but I can't keep letting you all use me." Ethan stood, his tone pleading. "Lauren, Mom didn't mean it. She just wants the family to be stable." I spun around, eyes stinging. Stable? By calling me worthless? By letting me carry the family's death without a single thank you? He didn't answer, and his silence was the loudest answer of all. I opened my laptop, checked my email, and saw a new alert from the bank. My parents' mortgage was at risk of closure. I snapped the laptop shut, feeling both furious and empty. I'd spent my life keeping my family from falling apart, but now I didn't know if I wanted to keep trying. Sarah texted, "You okay? Don't let them drag you down." I gave a weak smile, knowing she was right, but my heart was still a tangle. I needed to do something, not for revenge, but to protect myself. But then my phone buzzed again, an unknown Ohio number. I answered, and Mom's voice came through, no longer frantic, but seething. "Lauren, what do you think you're doing? Are you trying to destroy this family?" Before I could respond, she shouted, "Family meeting, tonight, at the house. You better be there or don't blame me." I sat on the Greyhound bus from Chicago to Ohio, streetlights flashing past the window like fleeting streaks of light. Mom's furious call echoed in my mind. "Family meeting, tonight, at the house. You better be there or don't blame me." I didn't want to go. Not after hearing the video from Aunt Nancy. Not after learning they'd exploited me for 5 years, calling me a failure while relying on the money I send. But a part of me, the part still craving an explanation, a flicker of hope they'd change, pushed me to buy the ticket. I clutched the canvas bag on my lap, holding the journal I wrote in last night, spilling every emotion, from pain to resolve, and a copy of the documents Ethan gave me, proof of the bitter truth that my parents knew I was paying their debts. When the bus stopped at the Ohio terminal, night had fallen. I took a cab to the old house where I grew up, with its white picket fence and Mom's marigold bushes still the same. But the warmth was gone. The house now felt like a stage, where I was about to face the people who'd once been my entire world. I stood at the door, took a deep breath, and knocked. Mom opened it, her face icy, not a trace of a smile. "You're here," she said, her voice sharp as a blade. "Come in. Everyone's waiting." I stepped into the living room, where Dad sat in his armchair, Ethan stood by the fireplace, and Aunt Nancy, the one who accidentally sent the video, huddled on the sofa, her eyes red and swollen. The air was thick, like the calm before a storm. "What do you want, Lauren?" Mom started, not waiting for me to sit. "You think you can stop sending money and ruin this family?" I looked at her, feeling my heart constrict. "Ruin?" I asked, my voice steadier than I expected. "Mom, I've paid this family's debts for 5 years, from electricity to the mortgage. I did it because I love you all. But after Aunt Nancy's video, I realized you don't need me. You just need my money." Mom let out a harsh laugh, dripping with scorn. "The video? You're blowing that out of proportion. We were just joking." But Aunt Nancy cut in, her voice trembling. "No, Patricia, don't lie. I saw that video. You called Lauren a failure, and I can't stand keeping quiet anymore." The living room froze. Dad stared at Aunt Nancy, eyes wide. Ethan bowed his head, fists clenched. Mom spun toward her, voice shrill. "Nancy, you have no right to meddle in this family." But Aunt Nancy stood, pointing at me. "Lauren deserves the truth. She's held this family together. And what did you give her? Contempt?" I felt a surge of strength rise in me, not from anger, but from Aunt Nancy's unexpected validation, someone I never thought would take my side. I set my bag down, pulling out the documents Ethan gave me. "These are Mom and Dad's financial records," I said, my voice firm. Mom wrote, "Lauren will cover the rest." "You knew I was paying, but still called me worthless? Why?" Dad finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "Lauren, we didn't mean it. We just needed the money to save face." I shook my head, tears threatening but held back. "Save face? By exploiting me? By letting me carry your debts without a single thank you?" Ethan stepped forward, trying to intervene. "Lauren, I didn't know it was that bad. I thought Mom was just borrowing temporarily." But I cut him off. "No, Ethan, you knew. You knew Dad's shop went under because of you, because of the loan he took to fund your failed startup, and I kept that secret to protect you." Mom shouted, "Enough, Lauren. You don't get to talk about this family like that." But I didn't stop. I felt like a door in my heart had swung open, not for revenge, but for release. "I'm done being invisible," I said, my voice ringing in the silent room. "I won't pay the debts anymore, won't stay quiet anymore. If you want this family to survive, start with the truth." I turned to Aunt Nancy, who was crying. "Thank you for sending that video. It hurt, but it saved me." I remembered a distant afternoon when I was 16, sitting on the porch with Aunt Nancy. She told me about her youth, how she left Ohio to chase her dream of being an artist, despite the family's objections. "Don't let anyone define you, Lauren," she'd said, resting her hand on my shoulder. "You're stronger than you know." Back then, I didn't get it. But now, standing in this tense room, I knew she was right. I wasn't the scared girl afraid of losing her family's love. I was a woman ready to stand up for herself. Mom sank onto the sofa, her face pale. Dad looked at me, eyes full of regret, but silent. Ethan stepped back, as if wanting to vanish. I felt a new strength, like I'd shed a shell that had trapped me for too long. "I won't let you hurt me anymore," I said, my voice soft but resolute. "But I don't want to destroy this family. I just want you to see me, really see me." I picked up my bag, ready to leave, but Aunt Nancy grabbed my hand. "Wait, Lauren, there's something you need to know." She pulled a small USB drive from her purse, her expression grave. "That video wasn't the only thing I found on your mom's computer. There's something else, and it changes everything." I stood in my parents' Ohio living room, clutching the USB Aunt Nancy had just handed me, my heart pounding like it might burst. The air was heavy, the old chandelier's yellow light casting tense shadows on everyone's faces. Mom sat on the sofa, her eyes flashing with defensiveness. Dad leaned into his armchair, gripping the armrests as if to keep himself from collapsing. Ethan stood near the window, his gaze flickering between me and Mom, like he was searching for an escape. Aunt Nancy, who'd just broken the silence by revealing the USB, looked at me with encouragement laced with worry. "You need to see it, Lauren," she said, her voice trembling. "It's not just about you, it's about this whole family." I stared at the USB, tiny but heavy with the weight of a decade of deceit. "What is it?" I asked, my voice low but sharp. Mom shot up, her voice shrill. "Nancy, what are you doing? This is family business, not your place to interfere." But Aunt Nancy didn't back down. "It's time for the truth, Patricia. Lauren deserves to know everything." Dad spoke up, his voice hoarse. "Lauren, sit down. Don't make this worse." But I didn't sit. I stood there, feeling a fire smoldering inside me, ready to ignite. "No, Dad, I've been silent too long. If there's something on this USB, I want to know now." Ethan stepped forward, trying to cut in. "Lauren, calm down. Maybe it's not as big as Aunt Nancy thinks." But I raised a hand to stop him. "Don't, Ethan. You knew about the financial records, about Mom using my money. Don't act innocent." He paled, stepping back. I looked at Aunt Nancy and nodded. "Aunt Nancy, show me." She pulled an old laptop from her bag, plugged in the USB, and opened a folder full of audio files. "These are conversations your mom recorded," she said, her voice catching. "I found them on Patricia's computer when I was fixing it last month. I didn't mean to listen, but you need to know." She hit play, and Mom's voice came through the laptop speakers, cold and calculating. "Lauren will pay. She always does. She's too weak to say no." Another voice, Dad, replied, "Patricia, is this okay? What if she finds out?" Mom laughed, her tone mocking. "Find out? She wouldn't dare do anything. She needs us to feel like she matters." My blood ran cold. I looked at Mom, who sat there, face ashen, lips pressed tight. "Mom?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Is this true? You deliberately used me?" She turned away, silent, but her silence was the clearest confession of all. I hit pause, unable to listen further. The room seemed to tilt. Everything I'd believed about family, love, sacrifice, connection, shattering into pieces. I remembered the nights I stayed up late, checking my bank account to ensure my parents' electricity wouldn't be cut. The times I turned down outings with Sarah and Maya to save money for Ohio. All for calculated contempt? I turned to Dad. "You knew about this, and you did nothing?" He bowed his head, voice hoarse. "Lauren, I didn't want the family to fall apart." I let out a bitter laugh. Fall apart? This family fell apart long ago, and I was too naive to see it. I walked to the dining table, where family dinners once happened, and set the USB down like a declaration. "I'm done being invisible," I said. my voice ringing in the silent room. I paid your debts for 5 years, not because I'm weak, but because I loved this family. But love doesn't mean letting myself be used. Mom finally spoke, her voice shaky but defensive. Lauren, you're misunderstanding. I did what was best for the family. You don't know the pressure we're under. I looked her in the eye. Pressure? You called me a failure to feel better about yourself? You recorded conversations to ensure I'd keep paying? She didn't answer, just turned away, and I knew I'd hit the truth. Ethan stepped forward, trying to mediate. Lauren, we can work this out. No need to blow this up. But I cut him off, voice firm. Blow this up? You think our family exploiting me is a small thing? You knew Dad's shop went under because of your startup, and you let me bear the consequences without a word. Ethan opened his mouth to protest, but fell silent, his face heavy with regret. Aunt Nancy placed a hand on my shoulder, whispering, "You're stronger than they think, Lauren. Don't let them make you doubt yourself." Her words were like a cool breeze, cutting through the storm in my heart. I recalled a night years ago, sitting with Aunt Nancy on the porch, listening to her talk about leaving Ohio to chase her dreams. "Don't let anyone steal your voice," she'd said, her eyes alight. Now I understood what she meant. I pulled out my phone, texting Sarah quickly. "I'm facing them. I'm not scared anymore." She replied instantly, "You've got this, Lauren. Show them who you are." I smiled, feeling a new strength coursing through me. I wasn't just confronting my family. I was reclaiming myself. I turned back to Mom, Dad, and Ethan. "I don't want to destroy this family," I said, my voice soft but sharp. "But I won't let you keep hurting me. If you want me to stay, start with the truth, not just about the money, but everything." I picked up the USB, feeling its weight in my hand. I'll listen to all these files, and I'll decide what's right for me. Mom shouted, "Lauren, you can't do this. You'll ruin everything." But I didn't stop. I walked to the door, Aunt Nancy following, and I felt like I'd broken an invisible chain. As I opened the door, my phone rang, a Chicago number, not Sarah or Maya. I answered, and an unfamiliar woman's voice came through. "Lauren Mitchell, this is Jenna from YouTube Creator Studio. One of your videos is going viral online, and we'd love to invite you to a major event. But there's a thing. You didn't post this video. Do you know what's going on?" The call from Jenna at YouTube Creator Studio echoed in my mind. One of your videos is going viral, but you didn't post it. My heart was a tangle, but I knew I couldn't go back to the living room, where Mom was still trying to justify herself, Dad sat silent in regret, and Ethan fumbled to salvage things. I needed space to figure out what was happening. I stepped onto the porch, where the scent of Mom's marigolds lingered in the night breeze. My phone buzzed again. Sarah, my best friend who always knew when I needed her. "Lauren, you okay?" she asked the moment I picked up. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice catching. "There's a viral video, Sarah, but I didn't post it, and I just found more audio files. Mom recorded everything, like she knew she'd get caught." Sarah sighed over the phone. "You need to see that video right now." I opened the YouTube app on my phone, my heart pounding as I typed my name into the search bar. The top video, with over 500,000 views in just hours. The truth about my family, Lauren's Corner. I hit play, and my face appeared, not from a video I filmed, but a skillfully edited cut of Aunt Nancy's video, interwoven with Mom, Dad, and Ethan's voices. "Lauren's a pathetic failure," Mom said in the clip, followed by my voice, pulled from an old vlog. I just want to help my family, even if they never see me. Someone had added subtitles detailing every payment I made for the family, electricity, mortgage, medical bills, with proof from Ethan's financial records. I realized instantly this was Aunt Nancy's work. She hadn't just sent me the video, she'd released it to the world, turning my pain into a public declaration. I trembled, not from fear, but from a strange strength rising within me. This video didn't just expose the truth, it was proof I wasn't invisible, wasn't worthless. I texted Aunt Nancy, "Did you post that video?" She replied instantly, "Yes, Lauren, I couldn't let them keep hurting you. The world needs to know who you are." I walked back to the living room, where Mom stood, clutching her chest as if sensing the storm coming. "Have you seen the video?" I asked, my voice calm but sharp as a blade. She paled, shaking her head. "What video?" Dad looked at me, eyes full of worry. Ethan stepped forward, voice panicked. "Lauren, what did you do? Did you post something?" I smiled, not out of joy, but because for the first time, I held the power. No, not me, but the world's watching, and they know the truth. I opened my laptop, showing the family the viral video. When Mom's voice came through, "She should be grateful we put up with her." She collapsed onto the sofa, hands covering her face. Dad stared at the screen, eyes red. Ethan muttered, "How did this happen?" I stood there, feeling like a giant, no longer the little girl begging for their love. "They're calling you toxic," I said, scrolling through the video's comments. "They say Dad's weak, Ethan's selfish, but more importantly, they say I'm strong for standing up, even after you tried to make me feel worthless." Mom sobbed, but this time I felt no guilt. "I didn't do this for revenge," I said, my voice ringing in the silent room. "I did it to take back myself." I remembered a moment years ago, sitting in my small Chicago apartment, reading a YouTube comment from a viewer. "Lauren, your videos make me feel less alone." Back then, I didn't know those words would become my guiding light. Now, thousands of women online were writing, "Lauren, you're an inspiration. Don't let them drag you down." My audience, strangers, had become my true family, lifting me up when my own flesh and blood turned away. I looked at Mom, Dad, and Ethan. "You were wrong about me," I said, my voice soft but unwavering. "But I don't need you to change. I've found my worth, and the world sees it." Mom tried to speak, her voice choked. "Lauren, I didn't mean it. I just wanted the family to be stable." But I cut her off, echoing her words from the video. "You said I should be grateful to be tolerated, but you know what, Mom? I'm the one who tolerated you." Dad stood, stepping toward me but not touching me. "Lauren, I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough. "I didn't know it was this bad." I nodded but didn't respond. His apology came too late, and I no longer needed it to move forward. Ethan looked at me, eyes heavy with regret. "You're right, Lauren. I was wrong. But please, don't let this video destroy our family." I gave a faint smile. "A family isn't something to destroy, Ethan. It's something to build, and I've started building my own." I turned my back, walking out the door, feeling like a boulder had been lifted from my chest. I'd turned my pain into strength, not to hurt them, but to free myself. But as I stepped onto the porch, my phone buzzed, an email from Jenna at YouTube Creator Studio. "Lauren, your video has hit 1 million views, and we'd like to invite you to speak at the YouTube Creator Summit next week. But there's a condition. You'll need to answer a question in front of thousands. Are you ready?" I stood in the backstage waiting area of the YouTube Creators Summit in San Francisco, the flickering LED screens casting light on my face in the makeup mirror. The upbeat music and applause from the auditorium echoed through, making my heart race. In just minutes, I'd step out before 2,000 people, content creators, producers, and fans, to share my story. The viral video Aunt Nassie posted, now with over 3 million views, had transformed me from a small-time Chicago YouTuber into an online sensation in mere weeks. But I wasn't here to brag. I was here to answer the question Jenna from YouTube Creator Studio had posed. How did you overcome your family's betrayal to stand stronger? I adjusted my emerald green dress, took a deep breath, and looked in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the Lauren who cried alone at night, doubting her worth because of Mom, Dad, and Ethan's mockery. She was someone who'd turned pain into power, not for revenge, but to prove she deserved love, first and foremost from herself. I gave a small smile, gripped the microphone a stagehand had just handed me, and walked onto the stage. The lights were blinding, but the crowd's warm applause made me feel at home. "Hi, I'm Lauren Mitchell," I said, my voice clear and strong, "and this is the story of how I found myself after my family called me a failure." I told them everything, from Aunt Nancy's video to the years I quietly paid my family's debts to the moment I confronted them in the Ohio living room. I didn't embellish or exaggerate, just shared the truth with the sincerity I'd learned from my Lauren's Corner audience. When I spoke about the USB with Mom's recorded audio files, about how she exploited me without remorse, the room fell silent, broken only by a few sympathetic sighs. "I used to think I needed their love to feel worthy," I continued, my voice soft but steady. "But I realized my worth isn't in what I do for others. It's in me, in how I choose to stand up, love myself, and live true to who I am." The applause thundered as I finished. I looked out at the audience, seeing women, young, middle-aged, from all walks of life, nodding, their eyes glistening. A girl in the front row raised her hand, shouting, "Lauren, you're an inspiration." I smiled, feeling a door in my heart swing open. After the event, I received hundreds of messages from viewers sharing stories of being undervalued by their families, pressured to sacrifice for love. "Thank you," one message read, "for giving me the courage to put myself first." Those words weren't just praise. They were proof I'd found a new family, not bound by blood, but by empathy and respect. Back in Chicago, I decided not to contact my family right away. I needed time to heal, to rebuild my life. I moved to a new apartment in Lakeview, where large windows overlooked Lake Michigan, bringing a peace I'd never known. I kept making videos, but now Lauren's Corner wasn't just about cooking or lifestyle tips. It became a space where I shared my journey of self-discovery, helping other women find strength within themselves. The channel grew fast, hitting 100,000 subscribers, and I signed an ad deal with a healthy food brand, bringing income I'd never dreamed of. One afternoon, I got a handwritten letter from Aunt Nancy, sent from Ohio. "Lauren, I'm proud of you," she wrote. "Your family is changing, slowly but surely. Give them time." I set the letter down, feeling a quiet calm. I wasn't angry at Mom, Dad, or Ethan anymore. I'd forgiven them, not for their sake, but because I wanted to live lighter. But forgiveness didn't mean going back to how things were. I chose distance, building my life with people who valued me, Sarah, Maya, and the audience who'd become my true family. Back in Chicago, I decided not to contact my family right away. I needed time to heal, to rebuild my life. I moved to a new apartment in Lakeview where large windows overlooked Lake Michigan, bringing a peace I'd never known. I kept making videos, but now Lauren's Corner wasn't just about cooking or lifestyle tips. It became a space where I shared my journey of self-discovery, helping other women find strength within themselves. The channel grew fast, hitting 100,000 subscribers, and I signed an ad deal with a healthy food brand, bringing income I'd never dreamed of. One afternoon, I got a handwritten letter from Aunt Nancy, sent from Ohio. "Lauren, I'm proud of you," she wrote. "Your family is changing, slowly but surely. Give them time." I set the letter down, feeling a quiet calm. I wasn't angry at Mom, Dad, or Ethan anymore. I'd forgiven them, not for their sake, but because I wanted to live lighter. But forgiveness didn't mean going back to how things were. I chose distance, building my life with people who valued me, Sarah, Maya, and the audience who'd become my true family. I sat on my new apartment's balcony, sipping chamomile tea, watching the sunset paint the lake gold. I opened my journal, writing a simple line: "I deserve to be happy, and I'm living for it." I didn't need my family's approval to feel whole. I'd found my worth, and that was my greatest victory. But as I closed the journal, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Lauren, it's Ethan. I need to see you. Something's happened with Mom. She's in the hospital, and she wants to tell you something before it's too late." I sat in my new recording room in my Lakeview, Chicago apartment, soft light from the large windows spilling onto my desk, where a shiny silver microphone sat beside my laptop. Lauren's Corner was no longer just a place for recipes or life hacks. It had become a safe haven where hundreds of thousands of women came to hear stories of self-discovery, of rising after being dismissed by those they loved most. After the YouTube Creators Summit, my channel hit 150,000 subscribers, and the ad deal with a healthy food brand gave me financial freedom I'd never dared imagine. But the real treasure wasn't the numbers or money. It was the messages from viewers, like one from a woman in Texas. "Lauren, you gave me the courage to say no to my toxic family. Thank you for showing me I'm worthy of love." Ethan's text about Mom's hospitalization lingered, unanswered. I spent the night wrestling with old pain and compassion. Finally, I decided not to go to Ohio right away. I called Aunt Nancy, who'd become my unexpected anchor. "Auntie, how's Mom doing?" I asked softly. She sighed over the phone. "Patricia's recovering from a mild heart attack, but she's changed, Lauren. She wants to see you, not to blame you, but to apologize." I fell silent, feeling like a door from the past had cracked open. "I'm not ready," I admitted, "but I'll think about it." Aunt Nancy's smile came through her voice. "You don't owe them anything. Do what's right for you." I opened my laptop, starting a new video, not about cooking, but about my journey. "Hey everyone," I said, looking straight into the camera. "Today, I want to share what I've learned after my family called me a failure. Not to vent, but to remind you that your worth isn't in what others think. It's in how you love and value yourself." I spoke about Aunt Nancy's video, the years I paid my family's debts, the moment I stood up in their Ohio living room and reclaimed my voice. I didn't name Mom, Dad, or Ethan, didn't cast them as villains. I just shared how I turned pain into strength. If you're feeling like you're not enough because of someone else, remember, you deserve love, first from yourself. I finished, smiling. The video went live, and within hours, thousands of comments flooded in. One read, "I just cut ties with my mom after 20 years of manipulation. Thank you, Lauren." Another, "You make me want to try YouTube again, even though my family says I'll fail." I read each one, my heart swelling. I texted Sarah and Maya, thanking them for standing by me through every storm. "You guys are my real family," I wrote, and they replied with heart emojis. I stepped onto the balcony, gazing at Lake Michigan shimmering under the moonlight. I no longer held anger toward my family. I'd chosen peace, not for them, but because I wanted to live lighter. I opened my journal, writing, "I found light in the darkness, and I'll never let it fade." I knew my journey wasn't over, but I was ready for whatever lay ahead. I didn't need my family to feel whole. I had myself, and that was enough.